Hi guys, and welcome to our farming systems lesson for today for our Year 12 agricultural practices lesson. Just checking in with everyone today, and hopefully you're not getting too frustrated with the outages, but remember to take 3 deep breaths and take a break, take a walk when you need it. So anytime throughout this lesson you can pause it, rewind it, stop it, do whatever it is. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to access the Blackboard learning place at the moment. So if you are able to access it, please go through and do the activities. Pause this video while you do them and then come back. So the first thing you should be doing is going to our check-in page. Now you will find that by logging into today's lesson, and it's the very first thing up the top where it says check-in. You click on that, it takes you to it. So with this, I'm happy for you to post a photo, a joke, something appropriate. There's something that can maybe make somebody else's day feel a little bit better. Okay, so to start off our lesson, we've got a lesson starter. Again, you go to the discussion board, and again, there is a link in the page for today's lesson. So we are doing Write That Essay style, and for Wild Wednesday, we're going to do a W start sentence. So it's something about this photograph. Okay, so W starts could be while, where, who, what, when, whichever W word you wish to use. So what you need to do is just go to the discussion board and write a sentence about this photo. So an example could be, while she was hunting, while she was hunting, she came across another lion. Okay, so something starting with W. And I want to have some nice light reading tonight. So you can pause this video and go do it. So pressing pause, rewinding anytime you like. Okay. Just a reminder that I do want you to take notes to have reference to. You can handwrite them. It's good practice to be handwriting. Or you can type them into the other work booklet or worksheet that you were working on. Remember to keep your work set out nice and neat, underline headings, bold headings, so that they stand out and it makes it easy for you to then revise or refer back to. So our lesson goal today is to identify and explain the components of a farming system. So we're going to look at what a farming system is, and we're going to identify those different components and explain what they do. The benefits of this is by understanding how a system works, okay, we can actually understand how factors influence production and what we can do to actually make a more efficient, environmentally sustainable, profitable production system. Right, so writing some notes down. So farming systems, what are they? So it is an agricultural enterprise that is a business engaged in the production of food or fibre. So foods and fibres, not just animals, any plants, material that is produced from the earth, okay, is an agricultural enterprise. The outputs of these systems are those things that are produced. Okay, so pardon me. Outputs are the products produced by our enterprise. An example could be that dairy farms, one thing they produce is milk. Okay, I'm sure you can think of plenty of other things dairy farms produce. Each farming system consists of many interconnected subsystems. So the word subsystem, basically an underlying or inner system within a system. So if we have a look at this diagram here, the one that's most obvious there, because it says it, is management system. So within there, we've got a whole different range of systems, okay, that could be working. So this could be the environment, it could be the water system, it could be the soils, it could be just the animals. Okay, so there's a whole lot of different subsystems within that system. We have a little reading activity to do. So on the next slide, there's going to be basically 3 paragraphs, and I would like you to record, write down, identify somewhere in your book the meaning for the words inputs, processes, and boundaries. So going to the next slide, I would suggest you pause the video and take a moment to read and find your answers to these. I'm not going to say the answers till the end. I don't know when to say the answers. I need you to read it. So pause this video now, read it. Actually, I changed my mind. I'll read it. If you want to read it yourself, just pause and then fast forward. So for those who may need some assistance with reading, this is what it says. Each farm acts as a system of many smaller interconnected subsystems. On a beef cattle farm, these subsystems might include cattle, pastures, microorganisms, soil, water, climate, and management. Interactions between these subsystems, some of which are helpful to agricultural production. Interactions occur between these subsystems, some of which are helpful to agricultural production. For example, the cattle pass manure onto the pasture subsystem, providing nutrients for plant growth. In return, the pasture provides a source of nutrient for the cattle. Now, if we looked at that from the other side of point of view, you could say, well, actually, it also intervenes because it then causes worms to be put onto the paddocks. So we have to make sure we manage that. The farm manager organises these subsystems to work together as efficiently as possible to produce agricultural outputs. Inputs are brought into the farm and through different processes are converted into outputs. For example, pellets brought into the poultry farm will turn into chicken meat through the process of digestion and growth. Seeds germinate and undergo the process of photosynthesis, resulting in the growth of crops. So processes is anything that converts outputs into inputs. The farm manager monitors production and examines feedback, including yields, so that's how much they produce, to help with future decision making. The yield is a measurement of the amount of output produced, usually per hectare or per animal. For example, a cropping farmer might look at how many tonnes of grain they are producing per hectare of land. If yields are lower than expected, the farmer might decide to alter fertilizers, soil preparation, or pest management next season. Farms have several constraints or boundaries. Some of these are physical boundaries, such as the size of the property, type of soil, or the steepness of the terrain. Other boundaries might be due to climate, for example, the annual rainfall, or finances, including how much money the farmer has at their disposal for investment and improvements. So your task now is to identify the meanings for the words inputs, processes, and boundaries. Okay, make sure you have them written down into your books and you have a thorough understanding of what they mean. Okay, so next thing I need you to do is go do the quiz. So this quiz is just going to test your understanding of what we have just looked at. Okay, if you don't get 100%, or if you find that you couldn't answer some of the questions, maybe go back and reread or write them out in your own words. Okay, remembering to pause the video as you need. So right now we're going to download the worksheet Exploring the Farming System. Now this will be in its own little tab. Okay, I need you to save it to your ag practices, put your name in the file path, or save it to a USB. What you'll need to do is do a split screen, unless you want to just use this PowerPoint. You can pause it anytime you need. We're going to read through some information on the next few slides that'll help us answer the questions on our worksheet. So the worksheet you have should have loaded looks like this. Okay, it's called Ravenhead Farm. It is a scenario. So we're going to read through this scenario on a farm called Ravenhead, and we're going to answer a number of questions. So the questions we are looking at is identify 4 subsystems on Ravenhead, list 2 inputs on Ravenhead, list 4 outputs of Ravenhead, what are 2 boundaries of this farm, you can fix them up, identify 1 interaction between 2 of the subsystems, what is 1 process that turns inputs into outputs. Okay, so I've put it on each slide, okay, and I've given you some little reminders or hints. So number 1, identify 4 subsystems on Ravenhead. So remember, a subsystem is a smaller system within the farming system. An example could be Hereford cattle. So information says Ravenhead is 1,200 hectare farm owned and operated by the McAllister family, who run prime lambs, merino sheep, Hereford cattle and seasonal cropping. On average, the property receives 680 millimetres of rain annually. Soil on the property is deficient in phosphorus and selenium. This means that an annual application of superphosphate fertiliser is required, and livestock are drenched with selenium when needed. Improved pastures are used for grazing, and rotational cropping is integrated to improve soil fertility and structure. Fodder crops of oats are grown in for winter grazing, and maize is grown for silage production to supplement cattle feed. Okay, so question 1, identify 4 subsystems. The example you've been given there is Hereford cattle. So what are 4 other systems you can find there? Question 2, I'm not going to read it again. You can read it through yourself. However, if you wish to listen to me read it again, I suggest you rewind the video. So question 2, there's 2 inputs on Ravenhead. And remember, an input is something that is brought onto the farm to be used. Question 3, list 2 outputs on Ravenhead. Remember, an output is something that is produced on the farm. Go ahead and answer your questions from the text. Question 4, what are 2 boundaries of this farm? Remember, boundaries are limitations that may interfere with the production and need to be considered during management. Please take the time to rewind the video if you wish to hear me read this again. Otherwise, please pause and read through yourself. Question 5. Identify one interaction between 2 of the subsystems. Remember, an interaction is the effect one subsystem has on the other. What is one process that turns inputs into outputs? Remember, a process is an activity or action that converts inputs into outputs. Example, digestion is the process of converting feed into muscle and energy growth. Remember, you can pause and rewind if you need to listen to my lovely voice reading the information for you. Please ensure that you have typed your answers into the boxes available for you. Making sure you save your work. Once your work is saved, please scroll down to the section in today's lesson, Worksheet Exploring the Farming System. Click on that. Scroll down to where it says Assignment Submission, Attach Files, Browse My Computer. Attach the document you have saved and make sure you press the Submit button. Please do not press Submit without attaching something because I do not receive anything. For your checkout for today's lesson, please go to the discussion forum. Okay, this actually provides me with valuable feedback to see how you went in this lesson and allows me to make further adjustments.